In a fractured family where secrets bleed into everyday life, Jessica found herself caught in a twisted game she never asked to play. She first met Henry at her half-sister's engagement party. Her mother had been reluctant to bring her, knowing what it would reveal. The uncomfortable truth that Jessica's father had cheated with her aunt years ago, producing Jessica just minutes after her half-sister Lauren was born. The family dinner became a battlefield of resentment and denial. Jessica's father refused to acknowledge his affair even as both families sat mortified. Lauren's future in-laws, the Zhang family, walked out in disgust. Her mother chased after them desperately, but Jessica stayed seated, watching the chaos unfold. That's when Henry, Lauren's fiancé, turned to her with surprising calmness and asked if she had a boyfriend. From that moment, Henry began inserting himself into Jessica's life. He started texting her daily, even though she barely knew him and only communicated because of Lauren. He'd openly ask when they could meet up, completely ignoring the fact that he was engaged to her half-sister. Jessica found herself playing along, partly out of curiosity, partly out of spite toward the family that had always treated her as an outsider. The morning after she casually mentioned wanting soup dumplings from a specific shop, Henry showed up at her door with them. Her mother's face twisted with confusion and jealousy. Lauren, always loud and demanding, finally broke down crying. But Jessica's father said nothing. His company desperately needed investment from the Zhang family, and he had basically sold Lauren's engagement to save his business. The entire arrangement had been transactional from the start, a red line drawn to rescue a sinking ship. A few days later, Henry appeared at Jessica's office with homemade food, claiming Lauren had given him her contact information. But Jessica knew Lauren had blocked him after finding out he'd been calling. Henry had used a new number to reach her. He sat across from her desk and spoke with unsettling certainty. He knew Jessica had never had a boyfriend before, knew about her late mother, knew she'd been working herself to exhaustion trying to prove something to her father. He understood her in ways that felt invasive, yet oddly validating. Then he made his move. He'd invested in her father's failing company, but with one condition. Jessica had to return and work there. Her father called the next day, practically begging her to quit her current job and come back to the family business. When Jessica protested that there was no position available, her father revealed the truth. Lauren was being pushed out. Henry wanted Jessica in that role instead. The investment came with strings attached, and those strings were wrapped around Jessica's future. Lauren called immediately after, her voice shaking with rage. Quote, _0 _. The words cut deep, but Jessica had heard variations of them her entire life. She was the living reminder of betrayal, the mistake that couldn't be erased. Jessica hung up and stared at her phone. She hadn't stolen anything. But somehow, Henry had orchestrated everything to put her exactly where Lauren used to be, in the company, in the family's attention, and in his own calculated affection. Whether this was revenge, opportunity, or something darker, Jessica couldn't yet tell. But she knew one thing: the game was far from over. And every move Henry made only tightened the web around all of them. He had the resources, the timing, and apparently the determination to reshape this family's hierarchy entirely. And Jessica, for the first time in her life, found herself not at the margins but at the very center of someone's plans. The question was no longer whether she'd been used as a pawn. It was whether she'd let herself remain one, or if she'd finally take control of the board herself and rewrite the rules that had kept her in the shadows for so long.